Liz here, founder and strategic marketing consultant at XLIQ 360. I wanted to walk you through a resource that I put together that I am sharing with my network for free, and I would like for you to take a look at this and pass it along to anyone that you think it could be useful for. So this is called the Joint Position and Statement Playbook, and what it does is give you a structured fill-in-the-blank framework for building the joint position and statement that sits at the center of any partnership. So whether you're an independent software vendor or ISV activating a cloud relationship, or you are an managed service provider or a managed security service provider positioning the joint value of your managed service alongside the technology platforms you deliver it on, or whether you are a systems integrator who is articulating why your implementation expertise makes the technology work, or if you're a founder building your first co-marketing narrative. So everything in this document, the examples, the structures, the patterns, all come from real partner campaigns that I contributed to from building and running these campaigns across programs ranging from venture-backed startups and SMBs through Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 and DAX 30 accounts. So the examples here are anonymized, but they're real examples. And these positioning statements were deployed in production campaigns that reached executive buyers. They generated very measurable pipeline and revenue. So just know that the formulas that I have in here have been tested. So I'm going to turn my camera off so we can get into it. All right, so I added a table of contents within this document, and let me see. Let me switch that view really quick. Can I? No. Okay. I'll figure this part out where it has this like continuous page break. But essentially, wherever you see a line like this, that just means we're starting a new page. So I added this table of contents. It's hyperlinked for quick and effective navigation, and we'll start at who this is for. And what it covers. So I just want you to take a look at this list really quickly. So this framework is for founder-led teams, ISVs, MSPs, MSSP, system integrators, consulting partners, alliance and partner marketing teams, managing portfolios of, maybe 3 partners or 50 or 100. And the reason this spans that range is because establishing a better together statement is something that is often a universal problem. So it doesn't matter what size your organization is, or if you have a partnership, ranging complexity. If you have a partnership and you can't clearly articulate why that partnership produces a better outcome for your customer than either of you can do by yourselves, then that's a positioning problem that you need to address, and this document solves that specific problem. So I want to be clear about the scope. So this covers very distinctively the core positioning statement, the joint value proposition narrative. That's the quote unquote, why does this partnership matter story. It does not cover your full messaging and positioning framework. For full campaign activation, you still need use cases, persona mapping, customer challenges articulated, your solutions capabilities, competitive differentiation, proof points, and all of that will live in a completed messaging and positioning or value proposition framework. and be taken care of, like if you were to work with me through, you know, a comprehensive workshop. This document does touch on all those things in one way or the other, but it focuses mainly on the better together story and the joint positioning statement. So, this is a very critical component of, the larger system, but dare not skip it. And this is a great place to start. So, another thing that I want to highlight is basically like the difference between a value proposition statement and a positioning statement. So, the positioning statement will serve primarily as like your internal point of reference and your jump off point into a value proposition statement, which is what you position directly to your customers. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that a lot of the language here um, can and should be used for a value proposition statement, and it's usually just like a slight change of words, but just keep that in mind as we go through this document. So now I'm at the positioning statement formula section. This covers one thing, and that's that statement. Um, so for when you're formulating this, I want you to notice how we structure this and the sequence that you will go through. So I have a proven 5-part formula for 2-party partnerships. Um, so first you go into the partner contribution. First, you go into the problem context. So, this is not about your solution or the partner, this is about the customer's problem. And that's intentional because every positioning statement that works in a co-marketing or co-sell context leads with the customer's reality. So, you want to refrain from leading with your partnership's features. Next is the first partner's contribution, and then the second partner's contribution. And these sections are about what each party specifically brings, not what they are, but what they enable. So, quote, we are a cloud provider, unquote, is not a contribution. Now, if you say something more like, we eliminate the infrastructure complexity so partners can focus on application and data protection, that's more of a contribution statement. It's rough, but you get what I'm saying. If not, let me know. So then there's the integration mechanism. So this is all about how the solution actually works together, both technically and operationally. And this earns the right to make the claims that come next. And then, the combined customer outcomes. This is your actual positioning statement. This is what goes into, like a solution brief, a joint webinar abstract, co-sell pitch, everything before it builds into this. So this is the actual positioning statement. So when you see customer combined outcomes, just know that that is the reference to say this is the joint positioning statement. I did add a word count here. This is just like a baseline guide, just based off of best practices. If you're going to be taking something like this and copy pasting it into assets, we're looking at like 150 to 250 words for a 2-party partnership. And again, that's flexible, but just know your customer and know how they consume content, understand buyer psychology, and how they how they how they consume content. So let's see. So here under this proven 6-part formula, this is all about tri-party activation. So this version adds a third partner, and in a tri-party structure, the third partner, you can order them however you want, but in the context we're using it here, the third partner is usually the delivery layer. So this is the system integrator, the managed service provider, um, and or the consulting partner who makes the first two partners, um, who really enriches the customer's experience and helps the first two partners work really well for the customer. So if you are an MSP or MSSP, this section will likely be very relevant to you because you're likely working with a technology partner, likely an infrastructure partner, or like uh, yeah, like I would say those are the main ICPs that, or the main, let's see, how do I say this? IPPs, ideal partner profiles that you're working with. Um, so let's see. So I'm actually going to jump. Um, let's see. I'm actually going to jump to this back section where you start filling in the worksheet, um, because I want to highlight the importance of identifying your type of partnership. So in this section, I have you identify that and check all the boxes as relevant. And the reason this matters is that the Better Together story um, is fundamentally different across different types of partnerships. So even though the formula is the same across all of them, the lens you bring to each section, what you lead with, where your contribution sits, all changes based on the structure of your partnership. So you'll see I have like technology integration here. That's like an ISV or software vendor whose solution integrates with or builds on a platform. Um, uh, Channel partner resell. So that is a partner who sells the vendor's solution to end customers, typically with margin or commission attached, and so on. We have different types of channel partners listed here: resell, delivery. Maybe it's resell plus delivery, where the partner does both. They sell and manage. Um, Slash delivers. And that's very common across the MSP profile. Then you have like marketplace co-sell, and that's where you'll have a solution that's listed or transacted through a cloud or partner marketplace. So like AWS marketplace, Azure, Google Cloud may involve some private offer structures in there. And then you have system integrators, OEMs, distributors, referral partnerships, and so on. So you would just come in here and you would like check these boxes off. So just want to pan there really quickly, um, and just make sure you check everything that applies. Many partnerships do span more than one type, and naming that up front prevents you from writing a positioning statement that only tells a piece or half of the story. So with that being said, I will head back up to some examples. So this playbook um, includes written examples of the different types of uh, positioning statements. So I have a couple of them for the 5-part formula for two-party partnerships, and a couple of them for the 6-part formula. And let's just go to this first one. Okay, so in this first example, we have a data intelligence platform plus cloud infrastructure bi-party example. So this is an ISV and a hyperscaler. Like I said, this comes from a real campaign that was deployed, and this one was deployed specifically in targeting the America's commercial and enterprise market, so commercial and enterprise accounts. Um, so just watch and pay attention to how this problem context opens. So it doesn't say we help organizations with data management. It says lack of data, bad data, data silos, and limited insights disrupt workflows and limit revenue opportunities. That's specific. That's what the customer is feeling. That's what makes someone keep reading, because you have identified their problem the same way that they identify their problem. So, partner one's contribution is that they bring the data layer, partner two brings the infrastructure, and the integration mechanism describes the pre built connection and centralized marketplace billing. And the outcomes close this all up. So, organizations build reliable data foundations, reduce time spent on manual preparation, and improve governance. So this is collectively 237 words and fits right in the zone of, what kind of solution a customer in the situation would be seeking. So now I'm going to jump to a tri-party example. And there is another bi-party example in here, an industrial edge solution and plus an OT services partner. But you can most definitely take a closer look at that if you choose uh, to download this asset. So let's see, and I have the templates in here as well, but we'll touch on that as well in a little bit. Uh, let's see which one. Okay, so I'll highlight this one. So in this fourth example, the tri-party version, um, this is, so I want to spend a little time here because this reflects how MSPs and MSSPs need to be positioned right now. I know there's a lot going on with, smaller scaled MSPs not feeling like they really have a leg to stand on with how fast everything's accelerating, and how the larger MSPs are essentially, they have much of market share, and distribution partners tend to not necessarily favor working with other partner types, but they the data says that only 7% of MSPs, only 7% of the revenue that is being contributed um, in a technology services distributors portfolio is coming from MSPs, and they want some more of that. As far as the MSPs, they want to get in more on that, and the TSDs want the MSPs in as well. So I think learning how to articulate your positioning with your partners will go a long way in progressing that forward. Okay, so uh, let's look at how this. Let's look at how partner three is positioned. So the MSP here isn't just delivering um, the platform, they're operationalizing it, they're accelerating time to value, they're maintaining the security posture continuously, not just configuring it and walking away. Um, that's the position and shift that makes an MSSP desirable to a vendor or a technology services distributor, the same way um, an agent or a consultant would be desirable. Agents are valuable because they accelerate the customer's path to a sale. They're very almost concierge in a way. And MSPs are valuable because they accelerate the customer's path to a realized sustainable outcome. So this section really names that. And when you look at the combined customer outcomes here, you'll see organizations gain full stack cloud security without the operational overhead of managing it. That's the positioning statement. That's what goes into your joint solution briefs, your marketplace listing, your webinar extract. You don't want to focus too much on the integration mechanism. That's just like the building into the positioning statement. That's the internal logic. This is the customer facing story. So another caveat here is that with this same, so like I told you, these are real examples. And these are examples coming from engagements with leading, industry leading service and solution providers. Now, example 3 is the exact comes from the exact same play and campaign and messaging framework, but example 3 positions that MSSP as an implementation partner because they also served as an implementation partner. So I separated out the messaging there to help just show you how you, if you are in that position where you provide multiple services, just the different ways you can position yourself as needed. Okay, so let me see. All right. Okay, so now that you've seen these examples, um, I want to come back to the worksheet, uh, or go to the worksheet, should I say, the blank template. So the worksheet is pretty straightforward. Um, these steps walk you through, like what each party brings, the integration value, and, so on. But I'll actually go, I think I want to skip. So these are just like example starters here for you to get started. I'm going to jump to like the actual worksheet. So this is just like the examples. Um, Let me see. And I'll use our handy dandy table of contents to do that. All right. All right, so we moved to the fill in the blank worksheet. We already went over the partner types. Okay, so now we're here on this section, and it's important that you are paying attention to and articulating like what each party brings, the integration value across technical, operational, and business dimensions. And I want to spend a little time here. So I'll just go through this first one. So the question here is, what becomes possible when you combine your solutions? Question yourself and ask yourself a few things. So in this example, what would the customer have to custom build or separately procure if these solutions weren't already integrated? Or what, and really all of these you should ask yourself, what is visible, accessible, or automated through the integration that is impossible with either solution alone? And what does the integration eliminate in terms of deployment time, customer development cost, or point solution sprawl? Go deep into that so you can flesh out any gaps in your message, and do the same for the operational layer. This will be heavily applicable to those MSSP, MSP profiles. You want to ask yourself, like, during an incident, how many vendors does the customer call? What does the partnership reduce that to? What does procurement, onboarding, and ongoing support look like with the partnership versus without it? What operational burden does the managed or delivery partner absorb that the customer would otherwise staff internally? And then the business integration layer is, just about those typical things like scale, pricing, what technology or capability does this partnership make accessible to a customer who couldn't afford or qualify for it independently? What commercial infrastructure, bundled pricing, marketplace transaction, shared compliance certification only exists because of the partnership, and so on. This is a working area for you to work with your partners to build this out. Um, let's see. So next you want to, test, you want to test your messaging. So let's see. I have some other sections here, but you can go through those yourself. Let me see. Okay, so it's up here. Jumping around, y'all. Bear with me. Okay, so a few important caveats here. So, like I said, this is the positioning statement. This is not the full joint value proposition document. From here, you want to build the joint value proposition um, in a few different versions. So you want to have a short version that's like one sentence, and then a paragraph, and then a full story. And you want to tailor these by persona and back them up with proof points, and then have that feed into the broader messaging and positioning framework that will cover every channel and audience your campaign needs to reach. So the so what test, you want to read every sentence of your positioning statement and ask, so what? If you can't answer with a specific business outcome, then you need to rewrite the sentence. Another example is, testing for a specificity. Specificity. So count your specific claims, numbers, named features, concrete problems solved, quantified alternatives. And really, you want like a minimum of 3 per story. And you need to ask yourself, like, can I validate this with data? If you don't have all of those specific claims identified, then you're probably being too generic to be credible. So just keep that in mind. Count your specific claims across numbers, named features, concrete problem solved, and quantified alternatives. And then independence. So you could ask yourself, could you remove one partner and this story still holds up? If yes, then you haven't made that partner's contribution essential. Rewrite until removing any party breaks the story. You want to show up as a unified front with your partners. Okay, so just really quickly, I will, and we have some like common mistakes to avoid here. So let's see, really quickly, yeah, I want to spend a little time here. So once your positioning statement is written and quality tested, you'll build that out in some type of framework document. And, just know that every asset, as it is listed here, we have some examples. So like a full joint value proposition document, use case library, competitive positioning, sales enablement assets, co-marketing messaging like cross website copy, solution briefs, case studies, and so on. This position statement should inform every single one of those assets. So I'll wrap up and say that you should download this, use it with your team, use it in your next partner planning session, your next messaging workshop, your next co-marketing build. Pass this along to someone who's working through a partnership activation right now or several. Just ensure it reaches the people who need it. If you want support building your complete Better Together story, your full joint value proposition, your all up messaging and positioning framework, reach out to me at Sean at excelIQ360.com. That's SHAUN at EXSAILIQ360.com. So 360.com. You can also book a free 30-minute strategy call with me through the link provided in this document, and we can really spend that time however you want. This is a free session, so if you download this form and you want to workshop that with me, then we can do that for 30 minutes. But thank you for listening and watching, and get to building with your partners. Feel free to reach out with any questions.